Parties of Wakulla County for hosting tonight's event. You do realize that this is possibly a historic political season in Wakulla County. So thank you very much. I also want to thank my beautiful wife, Judy, for being here, being so supportive through this process, my children as well, and my team. I appreciate you being here. With 11 days to go in this campaign, Wakulla County stands at a crossroad. You have an opportunity to change the landscape of the county's law enforcement community. While the vote is yours, the future of the county is ours. I have over 30 years of law enforcement experience in Wakulla County. I've worked homicides, robberies, burglaries, traffic accidents, drug cases, and missing person cases. I am a graduate of the FBI National Academy at the University of Virginia and a graduate of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Chief Executive Institute. I am the only candidate in this race that has the experience and credentials to lead the Wakulla County Sheriff's Department. The other candidate claims that his years as a traffic patrolman at the Florida Highway Patrol qualify him to be sheriff, just aren't fair to the voters. It's kind of like taking a puppy and throwing him in a fox hunt. While the puppy has teeth, he has claw, he has the instincts, he just doesn't have a clue how to use them. The other candidate is a good man. I'd call him to go to church with me. I'd call him to go fishing with me. But I wouldn't call him to fight for your safety with me. You see, this is not a popularity contest. This is the safety of your moms, your daughters, your sisters, your brothers type of contest. So who do you want to knock on your door when you're at your weakest? When you're in a life or death emergency? Do you want a traffic officer? Or do you want a proven law enforcement officer? I mentioned the crossroads at the beginning of my remarks. I hope to earn your vote on November the 6th. Thank you.
I want to get off script here just a minute. It's true, I was a Florida Highway Patrol trooper, and the two most dangerous jobs in law enforcement are stopping a vehicle for some whatever reason and domestic violence. In the state of Florida, the agency with the most law enforcement officers that have been killed on duty is the Florida Highway Patrol for 41, with 41 troopers killed in the line of duty. I want somebody to go to their families and tell them, your husband was nothing but a traffic cop. It doesn't matter what uniform you wear, it doesn't matter what badge you wear, all law enforcement officers, to get their law enforcement certification, are trained the exact same way. With my 5 years in reserves, I do have 35 years of law enforcement, and I've got the ability and the law enforcement hours, as well as the leadership, management, supervisory, and budget experience to lead this agency. Our crime rate is up according to the FDLE. These figures are supplied by the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. They're not disputed. Our crime rate, and this was brought up in the forum the other day, index crimes are up 9.9%, total overall crime is up 15.4%. Under my opponent's watch, index crimes are murder, aggravated assault, non-negligent manslaughter, forcible rape, burglary, auto theft, arson. There's several of them there. But the total crime rate, adding in all the other minor crimes that are on the index crime list, is up 15.4% in Wakulla County, 2012 or 2011 over 2010. This is not acceptable. Our budget, now I'm running out of time here, but I want to explain the budget process here in Wakulla County that was also brought up. But we deserve a fresh start, and I'm the one to offer it. Thank you.
Let me pause here for just a minute to make certain everyone understands this is not an audience participation event. All comments will come from the stage and the stage only. I want to make sure everyone's clear on that before we go any further. Now we'll begin with our first question.
Thank you, John. And the first question goes back to Mr. Creel, right? Okay. Mr. Creel, what is the biggest misconception regarding the Sheriff's Department?
Well, one of the things that's been put out in the last several years that is Wakulla County is the only law enforcement agency in the county, and the only one that makes door-to-door house calls. This is not true. This is not true. The highway patrol goes to doors. They notify deaths. That's one of the biggest misconceptions right there, that they are the only agency in the county that makes house calls, because other agencies do make house calls. There's also a misconception that our crime rate is down. They're saying our crime rate's down. They're saying that we're only taking 12.3% of the budget every year. That's wrong. That's a misconception.
The biggest misconception that I'm finding here is that a lot of people think that the Florida Highway Patrol has the same type of law enforcement responsibilities that we have at the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. Don't get me wrong. The other candidate and I chose different career paths. And let me be the first to say that they're very noble career paths. But whenever it comes to working a burglary and you call for assistance, the Florida Highway Patrol is not going to show up. Game and Freshwater Fish Commission is not going to show up. We're going to show up. When it's called to a fight, guess who's going to show up? The green and white vehicle. If it's a rape, if it's a person's crime, if it's a property crime, and you make that call, I can assure you the Florida Highway Patrol is not going to show up at your door to answer that call. It will, in fact, be a green and white, and a deputy sheriff will be in that car. So that is one of the misconceptions as well. As far as the crime rate is concerned, to use FDLE's crime stats to allege that Wakulla County is a dangerous place to live, I don't think anyone here tonight feels like they're in danger. And that we have a high crime rate, well, that's untrue, and it's misleading. Wakulla County is in the top 1/3 safest counties in the state of Florida right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question goes back to you, Mr. Langston, as well. What should be the top priority for the Sheriff's Department?
Obviously, right now we're in a very lean economy, and the budget is of the utmost importance. And there's a lot of misinformation that's floating around out there right now regarding the budget. So let me go ahead and try and clear some of that up for you. The total county budget is over $42 million. The law enforcement portion budget is 12% of that, not the 54% or the 53% that the other candidate talks about. The law enforcement budget is a little over $5 million. The sheriff also receives an additional $5 million to run the county jail, emergency management, E911, and court services. These services are mandated by Florida statutes, and the Board of County Commissioners have actually selected the Sheriff's Office to manage them for the county because we can manage them most effectively and most efficiently. The Wakulla County Sheriff's Office has cut nearly $900,000 from its budget during the last 2 budget years. Last year, $743,000. This year, $150,000. And please let me go ahead and get this cleared up too. Our budget is a line item budget. And even though my opponent has continually said I do not understand the budget, it's not that hard. He's been invited to the Sheriff's Office to review and to have the budget explained to him. But to me, let me just say this, it's very simple. If it says salaries, it means we pay people. If it says postage, we mail letters. If it says utilities, we pay the electric bill. If it says motor fuel cost, that means we bought gasoline for the vehicles. It's really a lot like your own budget at home. If you want to look at it, please go to my website and take a look at it there. It's posted for you. Thank you.
I missed the invitation to come up there and review the budget. Nobody called me. The budget is the most pressing issue right now. That is the most pressing issue. That's why, if elected, I'm going to call for an audit to be done to find out how the money is being spent. And there is some misconception on the budget. The total county budget this year is $42 million. That's including school board. Besides the water management district in this county, in every county, we've got 2 taxing authorities. The county commission sets the millage rate, and the school board sets their rate. So the total budget, including the school board, is $42 million. You don't count that. You count money that is being doled out by the Board of County Commissioners. This year, the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office portion of that budget is $10,360,000. The budget for the other county agencies is $9,042,000. That comes up to 52.7%. And by turning, and these are figures I got from the clerk of the court's office. I sat down with Greg James and got these figures from him. The sheriff's office budget last year was $9,650,000. This year it's $10,360,000. I don't see where the money got turned back, because the budget is higher this year. So we have to have an audit. And there's been a misconception about an audit, saying an audit could cost $300,000. I stated we would have an audit done by the Florida Auditor General's office. I contacted the Auditor General's office. It doesn't cost a dime to have it done. You can request, as a constitutional officer, them to come in and do your audit. Now I would follow a regime that's been there 30-something years. It makes good business sense to have an audit done. I mean, businesses are bought and sold every day, and there's an audit done before they buy that business. And this is a business with a $10 million budget.
Next question. Back to Mr. Creel, yes. There is a perception that WCSO currently lags behind in the use of technology and hands-on training, even with grant money available to fulfill both resources. What will you do to acquire and use new technology, along with providing more hands-on training for deputies?
They've got a pretty good technology up there. But one of the things I would do, as past president Nami Wakulla, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, I would make sure that every one of our deputies went through crisis intervention training. There was just a shooting over in Putnam County to where they shot a mentally ill man. They didn't have crisis intervention training. Now their sheriff is sending them to Duval County that Sheriff John Rutherford developed to teach deputies how to deal with mentally ill people. This has got to be done. Animal abuse. I've heard a lot about animal abuse. I would make sure our deputies are trained, highly trained in animal abuse, to where it's not beating a dog or a cat. Medicine, medical problems, flea problems. These are all problems that they have to be trained in to recognize animal cruelty.
Training in the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office is the latest technology, as the other candidate has said. We are required by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to have so many mandatory retraining hours annually. Our training department within the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office is second to none. All of our deputies stay current on their training. As far as the other gentleman said that CIT training is most important, I'm going to agree with him wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, if you want to know who the very first person with the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office that was trained in crisis intervention training, you're looking at him. I had that first training. And also, since that time, we have worked together with NAMI, and we have also worked together with the Department of Corrections, and we sent not only communications officers over there to have this training, we also sent correctional officers, as well as we also sent the line level deputy sheriffs and supervisors over there to be trained as well. As far as animal abuse, folks, that's basic. We get that in basic law enforcement academy. As a matter of fact, there's nothing that the other candidate is going to be able to teach any of those deputy sheriffs out there on the road about animals, animal neglect, animal abuse. It's statutorily stated as to what you will do. And that's exactly what we do. We enforce it, and we will continue to do so. We'll continue to work with CHEC, and we'll continue to work with our Wakulla County Animal Control. Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Langston, again. Y'all each talked about your experiences. What positions have you held in the past where you were personally responsible for hiring, evaluating, supervising, and dismissing law enforcement officers?
You know, that's always an interesting concept of having to fire deputy sheriffs or hire deputy sheriffs. We're an accredited law enforcement agency. Now let me tell you what an accreditation means. Accreditation means that you are held to professional standards in the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you treat your people. There is a protection bill for our law enforcement officers, but we're an accredited agency. And what that means is, for instance, if you were going to send your loved one to a hospital in Tallahassee and one was accredited and one was not, which one would you send it to? You would send it to the one that was accredited. If you were going to send your child to a school, a college, what would you send it to? One that was accredited or one that was not? My experience at the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office is at every level and every bureau within the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. I started out as a deputy sheriff and K-9 handler. I brought the first K-9 to Wakulla County. Then I was a school resource officer. And then I moved to crimes against children, detective, sergeant, worked my way up. In 1988, I was promoted to the rank of major. And I worked as a major from 1988 up until a couple of years ago, or a year ago, and I was promoted to undersheriff. And since that time, I am now a major as the Director of Administration. We have policies and procedures in place and how to deal with hiring, how to deal with firing, how to deal with disciplinary. But please understand that there is a bill that protects our employees, and it's the most important bill, and we always abide by it. And we like to see all of our members of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office, one fine department, always treated fairly. Thank you.
For years, I was a field training officer. And a field training officer, FTO officer, is an officer that trains new law enforcement officers when they come out of the academy. They have to go through a 10-week training period out on the road and be taught the ropes and taught to be street savvy. And I've trained, I don't know how many officers. I taught at the FBI or the FTO school training new field training officers. This is one of the most important areas for training of a law enforcement officer. He can go to the academy, he can study book stuff, and he can get out on the firing range and do all that. But when he hits that field, and he's got a training officer that knows what he's doing and is training him and training him to do it the right way, training him to do the things that are supposed to be done, training him so he doesn't have to risk getting fired. Working with him, watching him every day, spend every day in the car with him, and evaluate him every single day and every week.
Next question, back to Mr. Creo. Neither the state constitution nor the county charter require that the jail be managed by the sheriff's department. Should the sheriff and the sheriff's department manage the jail? Why or why not?
Yeah, there's a lot of counties in the state that let the BOCC take over their jails. As long as it's being run efficient, as long as it's being run legally, and as long as it's being run within budget, I think the sheriff's office should keep the jail. Board of County Commissioners shouldn't have to run a jail, but there are a lot of them in the state that have been taken over by the Board of County Commissioners.
Absolutely. The Board of County Commissioners has charged the Wakulla County Sheriff to oversee the jail. And it's most important simply because we have taken on the philosophy of operating a jail and treating government like you would treat your private business. And so since 1991, we built a jail a little larger than we should have. And the county commissioners agreed to do that. And in doing that, we have generated since 1991, $33 million that we have turned every penny back over to the Board of County Commissioners. And so that's one of the ways that we are treating government like you would treat your private business. And so does it make sense for a sheriff with a vision, a goal for the welfare of Wakulla County to take and lessen the taxpayers' burden? Because each year we have turned in $3 million back over to the Board of County Commissioners. And in our budget, over the past 4 years, we have turned in over $580,000 back to the Board of County Commissioners. So is it important for the sheriff to have the jail, absolutely. And we will continue to operate it like a business. We will continue to generate, by state mandate, you have to run a jail. And so why not have it there at the sheriff's office where we can run it effectively, efficiently, and use it as a revenue stream? Thank you.
Next question about you, Mr. Langston. What should the local sheriff's department role be during a disaster in the county, be it natural or a man-made disaster?
As you are well aware, emergency management, which also belongs to the Board of County Commissioners, just as the jail, just as court services, and just as E911. The Board of County Commissioners has entrusted the sheriff with the responsibility of providing emergency management. Most of our officers are trained at the ICS 700 level. Some of us within our agency is trained in incident command situations up to the 900 level. I have that certification. So what that says to you with this ICS rating and having emergency management at the Sheriff's Department is that we're prepared. And by the way, we are actually the agency that first made Wakulla County storm ready. So it is important because our emergency management division actually opens up the emergency operations center where deputies, firemen, ambulance, Department of Transportation, all of the agencies have a place around the table so that we can offer services and provide resources. And if we don't have the available resources, we need the National Guard, we have a phone call. So it's most important that emergency management remain under the auspices of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. It's just good service to you, the citizens. Thank you.
I agree also that the Sheriff's Office should have a big play in man-made disasters or natural disasters. What they do is they run the emergency management room there. And each agency that comes in, like my opponent said, the Highway Patrol, DOT, Game Commission, whatever, is set up in one area. Each one of them is what's called an ESF, Emergency Support Function. And they sit there and they handle what they can handle, and the Sheriff's Office handles what they can handle. Everybody's got their own expertise, everybody. But one of the main things you have to have for emergency operations like this, and for a man-made or a natural disaster, you have to have an effective, up-to-date evacuation plan. You've got to have it, and it's required that the evacuation plan is reviewed periodically to make sure that it's up to par and it's effective, and it'll work. But you've got to have the effective, up-to-date evacuation plan.
Next question, back to you, Mr. Creel. Do you support the use of red light cameras? Why or why not?
No, I don't. I don't. And I'll tell you why. I am a traffic incident management consultant, and I spent my first 5 years with this company after I retired from FHP, assigned to the Florida Department of Transportation. And we studied red light cameras. We studied them. One of the biggest problems I've got with them, people know there's a red light camera up there, there's two cars going through the intersection, one of them slams on brakes and the other one runs into the back of them. It's nothing but a revenue stream to me. It doesn't have anything to do with safety, it's a revenue stream. Somebody bends their car out, they run a red light, next thing you know, they're getting a citation in the mail because they lent the car to their friend. And there's no way you can dispute it, because the camera takes a picture of the tag and does not take a picture of the person driving the car. So, no, I am against red light cameras. We got a problem with running red lights, let's put an officer there that red light and work it.
I believe I agree with it. I don't like the idea of red light cameras either, because he is exactly 100% correct in his analysis, and that was a good analysis. And another thing that I want to add to that, folks, is this, is the person sitting behind that camera can make that call as to whether you get it or whether you don't. And therefore it can become a type of selective enforcement. And so I would be adamantly opposed to any red light cameras in Wakulla County. You know, we started one of the greatest traffic units, and we worked fatalities. We had 5 officers that were assigned to traffic accidents and things of that nature. And the reason why we did that is that we wanted to provide immediate service to you, the citizen, in case you were involved in a traffic accident. And so we didn't want you to have to wait 15 or 20 minutes or 45 minutes to an hour. We wanted to be able to provide that service to you. And so we have one of the best highly trained traffic units in Wakulla County at this very present time. But I'm against them. Thank you.
Mr. Langston, what's the biggest challenge facing law enforcement in Wakulla County right now?
One of the biggest challenges, well, there are several biggest challenges that we have in Wakulla County right now. One of them is the lean economy. And everyone is aware that we're in a lean economy, and everyone is doing everything that they can to cut their budget. And the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office is no exception. We have, as I stated earlier, we turned in $753,000 last year. We've turned in $150,000 this year. We've cut out a lot of the programs. We've cut out the boat team, the dive team. If we need those resources, we'll call Leon County and get them. We still have the equipment. We still have the officers trained to do that, but we've had to stop that particular training simply because of budget cuts. Another great important right now, and we need to keep this in mind, is drugs in our society and in our culture. In 2011 and 2012, the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office had 86 investigations that were initiated by the Narcotics Division and by the Street Crimes Unit, and they actually resulted in 143 felony narcotic-related charges. Now, whenever I'm talking about narcotic arrests, I'm not talking about just you stopping a car and finding some drugs on the seat. We're talking about search warrants. We're talking about protracted investigations, working with confidential informants, developing leads, and sometimes it takes a while to do that. They keep up with our narcotics unit keeps up with the intelligence from the federal agencies, the drug trends, those drugs that are entering the United States of America, and they have to be aware of this. Our drugs that's coming from east of the Mississippi originate from Colombia. Drugs entering west of the Mississippi, they flow from Mexico. They go to Atlanta. They have to know all this information because from that particular point they go north and they go south.
I agree. The economy is one of the big things. It is, and the budget. Mr. Langston stated a minute ago that the Sheriff's Office needs to be run by like a business. I mentioned that earlier. Having an audit done just like a business. Come in and see what you got, and then craft a budget from that that's lean, efficient, transparent for everybody to see. Drugs is terrible, and drugs and burglaries go hand in hand. And I don't think there's enough being done about the drug trade here in Wakulla County. I think we can get a lot of information from EPIC, which is the El Paso Intelligence Center, which will provide the county with drug trade information. This is today's Wakulla News. Burglary after burglary after burglary. There it is. They turn these figures over to the Wakulla News. So I think we need to tackle the drug problem a lot harder than we are, and we need to put a stop to people having their goods stolen.
Next question, back to Mr. Creel. Please discuss the history of animal control in Wakulla County and which agency is best suited to manage the program.
The Sheriff's Office had animal control at one time, and now the Board of County Commission's taken it over, and there's another organization called CHAT, Center for Children for Humane Animal Treatment. I think that the Animal Control Division should stay under the Board of County Commissioners. I think it should. That is not a law enforcement function unless it deals with an animal cruelty case. We've got an animal control officer going out to investigate an animal cruelty case, and they find out it is one, then he can in turn call the Sheriff's Office and have a deputy come out. But we've got more pressing problems here in Wakulla County than running an animal shelter.
As he stated, animal control was under the direction of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office for several years. And since we turned it back over to the Board of County Commissioners, there have been a lot of citizens saying, we sure wish you would take animal control back under the authority of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office rather than keeping it under the Board of County Commissioners. Well, the reason why we had to turn it back over is that they would not properly fund it when it was under the Sheriff's Office. We told them exactly what we needed. The vehicles, when they would need to be replaced, we would tell them that. Additional animal control officers to be able to provide the safety to the community from dogs running as strays. And we just could not get the funding for that. And so we knew that the only way that it was going to be properly funded at that particular time is to turn it back over to the funding agency. And for that reason, that's why we did just that. Since that time, I've talked with Chad. Chad said, would you be open to taking the animal control back under the authority of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office? I said, well, that would be something I would certainly consider, but I would have to talk with not only you as Chad, Animal Control, and the Board of County Commissioners, but it would certainly be something that we would take under advisement. They like the way that we handled it. Thank you.
This one's back to you, Mr. Langston, but this is our final question, and then after this we'll go to closing statements. What can you do, or what would you do, to help increase road safety, traffic safety, inside Wakulla County?
You know, we address that. It's a very important issue. I don't know whether you're aware of this or not. We have 3,500 automobiles running up and down 319 every morning. As much as 8,500 a day. And so that is the reason why we started the traffic unit of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. And since that time, our focus has been on traffic accidents, speeders. We just got some new speed spies that we have received on a grant. And so we recognize that as a problem in our communities. And so we're taking these devices, monitoring it, and we're actually reducing speeding in the neighborhoods. If you'd like to know more about that, give me a call. If you'd like the speed spies in your neighborhood, give me a call. We'll make sure that they're there. Thank you.
Several years ago, there was a divide between the Florida Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Office. They need to work together. They need to work together. We've got a problem with speed in a certain area. We don't have a deputy to call, or the deputy's busy. Call FHP and say, look, we've got a complaint. Can you go out and handle it? And on top of that, I think they ought to meet every month, sit down all the officers in the county. Doesn't matter if it's FHP, FWC, WCSO, whichever one, meet and have intelligent meetings and talk. You know, talk about where the problems are, the traffic safety problems are, where the complaints coming in. You know, I had a neighbor of mine the other day lives on Wakulla Road, it's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and said, something's got to be done. She said, they're welcome to park in my yard if they want to, but something's got to be done. But this is going to take cooperation between each agency in this county. And as far as the traffic unit with the SO, I think it's great. I don't think that they should be working fatalities. I don't believe in that. First thing I do is I go to the troop commander with FHP and say, look, we've got to improve our response time. I know they've got a problem with response time. We've got to improve it, and we will give these fatalities back to you. And they've got the equipment. They've got photogrammetry equipment to map out scenes and stuff where they can get in there, get it done quick, and get out. Not only that, once you clear this scene, then you got to worry about going to civil court. We're going to tie up an officer in civil court where people are suing. So I think that the Highway Patrol should take back fatalities and serious crashes that might result in a fatality.
Now we're going to go back to closing statements. I'm sorry, we're going to conclude with closing statements. And as determined by the coin toss before we began, Mr. Creel has the first closing statement, and Mr. Langston gets to end.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Democratic Executive Committee and the Republican Executive Committee for hosting this forum tonight. It's time for a fresh change within the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. A fresh start with new ideas and new leadership. It's time to bring back respect for our deputies who are on the front line of law enforcement. It's time to bring back their morale so they can focus on protecting our citizens instead of focusing on how they are being treated by the current administration. I've talked to a lot of deputies, a lot of them, and they tell me about the morale. Our citizens want to know how their tax dollars are being spent. I'm going to show them that with a transparent budget. They're concerned about our crime rate. I'm going to improve this through proactive law enforcement programs. Our citizens are concerned about our children's future. I'm going to improve this through programs designed to help our children. For a fresh start with a full-time sheriff, I, Charlie Creel, ask for your vote on the order of Ms. 6.
You've heard a lot of information here tonight. You've seen a law enforcement officer and a traffic officer doing their very best at being politicians. And we appreciate you being patient with us because I don't think either one of us are politicians. I mentioned in the beginning of this forum that the voters of this county have some very important choices to make. So here it is. Do you want a man who has over 30 years experience in law enforcement in his home county? Or do you want a person who was very good at enforcing traffic rules and regulations? You see, I care deeply about this county. As many of you know, I was raised in Smith Creek. I went to high school at Wakulla High. I've dedicated my career and much of my free time to Wakulla County. And I can tell you this, these are claims that the other candidate in this race simply cannot make, and we've seen it this year. I know what it takes to keep you safe. I have the administrative experience to lead our sheriff's office the way that it should be led, with experience. This is not an economy to train a baby sheriff. On November the 6th, you'll be tasked with hiring Wakulla County's next sheriff. That's your responsibility. When you look at my resume and consider my deep roots in this county, I hope that you will give your vote to me and give me a chance to keep this county safe. So I want to thank you. I hope you all travel home safely this evening. May God bless you. May God bless Wakulla County. Thank you very much.